What if I told you that the most powerful moment of your entire day happens before the sun even rises? A moment so small, so quiet, so ordinary, yet it decides everything. Your energy, your mindset, your confidence, your success. It's the moment when your alarm goes off. That split second, that heartbeat. That tiny window of time where you face the real truth about yourself. Do you rise? Or do you retreat? Most people never realize this. Your entire life can change in that one decision. Not because of the time you wake up, but because of who you become when you choose to get up. Before the world expects anything from you. Before your responsibilities pull you in every direction. Before the noise of life drowns out your inner voice. There is something extraordinary, almost untouchable, about the early morning. A version of you lives there that most people never meet. Stronger, clearer, more focused, more capable. And for some people, that version stays hidden forever. Not because they can't find it, but because they keep choosing comfort over possibility. But you're here. You showed up. Which tells me something powerful. You're looking for more. More discipline, more purpose, more control over your life, and I'm going to show you exactly how to find it. So let me ask you one more question. What if tomorrow morning you finally met the version of yourself you've been chasing for years? Because that version is waiting for you, and it's time you rise to meet them. Every single morning, before you speak a word, before you check your phone, before you step into the world, you face the most important decision of your entire day. And yet, most people never realize how powerful this moment truly is. They treat waking up like a routine, not a declaration. They treat their mornings like an accident, not a choice. But the truth is this: the first decision you make sets off a chain reaction that shapes everything that follows. Think about it. When your alarm rings, you stand at a crossroads. On one side is comfort, warm sheets, a soft pillow, the seductive promise of just 5 more minutes. On the other side is discipline, the decision to rise even when you don't feel like it. And make no mistake, every morning is a battle between the part of you that wants to stay the same and the part that wants to grow. That moment is not small. It is not insignificant. It is not trivial. It is the first test of your day, and passing that test changes everything. Most people believe that confidence is built in big victories, in promotions, in milestones, in applause. But confidence is built long before that. It's built in the quiet, unseen decisions you make when no one is watching. When you choose to get up as soon as your alarm goes off, you're making a promise to yourself and keeping it. And every time you honor that promise, you strengthen your identity. You prove to yourself that you have control, that you have discipline, that you follow through. That first decision becomes your foundation. On the other hand, when you hit snooze, you don't just delay waking up. You send a message to your mind: my comfort matters more than my goals. That one moment of hesitation, that single act of postponement, weakens your mental edge. It teaches your brain that your excuses get to win. And the problem is, once excuses win the first battle, they gain momentum. If you let yourself off the hook at 6:00 a.m., what stops you from doing it at 1200 p.m. or 300 p.m. or any time during the day when things get uncomfortable or inconvenient? The truth is, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Imagine 2 versions of you waking up tomorrow. The first one hears the alarm, groans, rolls over, and taps the snooze button. They drift back into a half sleep, telling themselves they'll get up in a few minutes. But they don't. They wake up rushed, scattered, already behind. They move through their morning with a feeling of being out of sync, out of control, and they spend the rest of the day trying to catch up. This version of you didn't do anything wrong, but they started the day in reaction mode. And when you start reactive, you stay reactive. Now imagine the second version. The alarm rings, and even though they're tired, even though the bed is warm, they push themselves up. They take a breath, feet on the floor, back straight, eyes open. They rise, not because it's easy, but because they said they would. That simple act of getting out of bed when it's time does something powerful. It sets the tone for the entire day. They feel in command. They feel capable. They feel like someone who leads their life instead of someone who chases it. And that energy, that sense of self-control, carries into every decision that follows. That's the power of the first decision. You create a ripple effect. You build momentum. You shift your psychology. You tell your brain, we are doing this today. We are moving forward. When you start your day with discipline, your mind becomes more disciplined. When you start your day with intention, your thoughts become more intentional. When you start your day with strength, your actions become stronger throughout the day. You have already done something difficult, and because of that, everything else feels more achievable. People underestimate how deeply the morning affects their identity. Waking up early isn't just a habit, it's an identity builder. When you rise early, you're not just getting more hours in your day, you're stepping into a mindset of leadership and self-control. You feel like someone who doesn't wait for life to happen. You make it happen. And that feeling fuels your confidence, your decisions, your discipline, and your overall life direction. And this is why the first decision is so important. It's the only decision you make every single day that shapes your psychology for the next 24 hours. You don't choose your biggest opportunities every day. You don't choose your biggest wins every day, but you choose whether to rise or retreat. That's your daily test. And when you win it, you create a mindset that is prepared to take on the world. But winning this decision doesn't start in the morning. It starts the night before. It starts when you decide that tomorrow matters. It starts when you choose not to stay up endlessly scrolling, when you prepare your space, when you prepare your mind. Because the truth is, most people lose the morning the night before. They don't set themselves up to win. They don't treat waking up early as the early step in shaping their lives. They treat it as optional. You need to treat it as essential. You want to wake up with purpose. You want to feel in control. You want to feel stronger, sharper, and more intentional. Then you need to honor the first decision you make every single day. There will be mornings when it's harder. Mornings when you don't feel like it. Mornings when your mind whispers, just rest. But that's exactly when the decision matters most. Because strength isn't built when things are easy. It's built when you choose the difficult thing anyway. So tomorrow morning, when that alarm sounds, don't negotiate with yourself. Don't bargain. Don't delay. Decide. Because how you start your day determines how you live your day. And when you win that first decision, everything else becomes easier. Rise with intention. Rise with purpose. Rise because you said you would. That first decision is the one that defines who you are becoming. Waking up early does far more than give you extra time. It fundamentally rewires the way your mind operates. It changes the way you see yourself, the way you show up in the world, and the way you respond to challenges. Early mornings reshape your mentality from the inside out. And most people never experience this transformation because they never give themselves the chance to feel it. But once you do, it becomes almost impossible to go back. There is something powerful about being awake before the world starts moving. The silence, the stillness, the untouched energy of the day, it creates a psychological shift that you can't replicate at any other time. When you wake up early, you're not just getting a head start, you are putting yourself in a mental state that is calm, focused, and strategically aligned. You create space in your mind that is impossible to find once the world starts demanding your attention. Throughout the day, your brain is constantly bombarded with noise, notifications, conversations, tasks, responsibilities, expectations. All of that creates mental clutter. It crowds your thinking and makes it harder to get clarity. But early mornings are different. There is no noise, no pressure, no distractions. This is the window when your mind is most open, most receptive, most capable of deep focus. In those early hours, your thoughts are sharper, your emotions are more balanced, and your sense of direction becomes clear. The act of waking up early teaches your brain discipline. Your mind learns that you lead, not your impulses. Each morning, when you choose to get up rather than stay in bed, you reinforce a neural pathway linked to self-control. Over time, this becomes ingrained. You become someone who keeps promises to yourself. You become someone who doesn't give in to the easy option. That alone rewires your mindset toward resilience and strength. But the transformation doesn't stop there. When you wake up early, you give your brain room to process, reflect, and plan. Most people wake up and immediately jump into reaction mode. They're rushing, running behind, trying to catch up. This creates a mindset of stress and survival. You're not thinking ahead. You're just trying to get through the day. But if you start your day early, your mind is already one step ahead. You're proactive, not reactive. You are designing your day instead of being dragged through it. This proactive mindset carries into everything you do. You approach challenges differently. You stay calmer under pressure. You make decisions with clarity instead of emotion. You don't feel overwhelmed as easily because you've already grounded yourself before the chaos begins. Waking up early builds emotional regulation. And emotional regulation is one of the strongest indicators of long-term success. It's the ability to stay in control when things get stressful. And morning discipline feeds that muscle. Another way waking up early rewires your mindset is through identity. When you consistently rise early, you start to see yourself differently. You start to think, I'm the kind of person who gets up early. I'm the kind of person who takes control of my life. I'm the kind of person who shows up for myself. That identity shift is powerful. Your actions shape your beliefs, and your beliefs shape your actions. It becomes a cycle that builds confidence. Your brain begins to associate early mornings with success, effort, and discipline. You begin to expect more from yourself, and because of that, you achieve more. Early mornings also give you something people desperately lack today: uninterrupted time to think. Time to strategize, time to visualize, time to ask yourself important questions like, what do I want? Where am I going? What needs to change? What's my next move? When you ask yourself these questions at night, your brain is tired. It's been running all day. But in the morning, your mind is fresh. It's ready to create, ready to plan, ready to receive new ideas. Some of your best thoughts will come during quiet mornings because your brain is no longer defending itself from the noise of the day. Beyond clarity, waking up early builds momentum. Starting the day with intention creates a psychological win. Your mind registers, I'm already ahead. This win becomes emotional fuel. You carry that energy into your goals, your work, your relationships. You feel more capable, more productive, more grounded. And when challenges show up, which they always do, you feel ready. You don't feel behind or overwhelmed. You feel prepared. There's also a biological component. In the early morning, your brain produces chemicals that support focus, memory, and creativity. Your cortisol levels are naturally higher, not in a stressful way, but in a way that primes your body for alertness and readiness. Your brain is wired to think more clearly and absorb information more efficiently. When you take advantage of this natural window, you maximize your cognitive performance. When you sleep through it, you lose one of the most mentally powerful periods of the day. But here's the real shift: waking up early gives you sovereignty over your life. During the day, your time is not fully yours. People need things from you. Work requires attention. Life demands energy. But early mornings belong only to you. They're your sacred hours. The hours where your mind is yours, your thoughts are yours, your direction is yours. And when you feel ownership over your time, you feel ownership over your life. The world is full of people running on autopilot. Waking up early breaks that cycle. It awakens intentionality. It forces you to be present. It gives you space to choose who you're going to be instead of letting the day define that for you. This isn't just about waking up early. It's about rewiring your mind to operate from strength instead of stress, from clarity instead of chaos, from purpose instead of survival. It's about becoming someone who leads their life with discipline, direction, and focus. And once you experience this shift, once you feel what early mornings do for your mind, you won't want to return to your old patterns, because you'll realize that the person you've been trying to become has been waiting for you in the early hours all along. Building a morning routine that reinforces strength and self-mastery isn't about creating a checklist of tasks. It's about designing a system that shapes your identity from the moment you wake up. A powerful morning routine trains your mind to take control, strengthens your emotional discipline, and gives your day a sense of direction and purpose. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about creating rituals that remind you every single morning of the person you choose to be. A strong morning routine begins before anyone else needs something from you. In those early hours, you're not reacting. You're creating. You're not responding. You're leading. And that shift in energy changes everything. The routine becomes the anchor that keeps you grounded, focused, and mentally prepared no matter what challenges come later. It becomes a daily reminder that you're in charge of your life. The first part of building a powerful routine is choosing rituals that signal to your brain that it's time to elevate. You want to create a series of actions that immediately pull you out of old habits and into a state of clarity and strength. This could be as simple as making your bed. It seems small, almost insignificant, but the act sends a message: the day has started and I am stepping into it with intention. This tiny win builds momentum. Hydration is another essential step. After hours of sleep, your body needs water to reawaken itself. Drinking a glass of water first thing isn't just a health habit. It's a discipline habit. You're telling your body and mind, I fuel myself first. I take care of myself. I prepare myself. It's a small but powerful act of self-respect. Next, you need stillness. Silence. A moment where you connect with yourself before the world intrudes. This could be through meditation, deep breathing, or simply sitting quietly and letting your thoughts settle. In a world of constant distraction, stillness becomes a psychological reset. It sharpens your focus, strengthens your emotional stability, and sets the tone for a calm, intentional day. When you start your morning grounded, you move through the rest of the day with a sense of control that most people never touch. Then comes movement. Not necessarily a full workout, just movement. Stretching, a few minutes of yoga, a brisk walk, or a quick set of body weight exercises. Movement wakes up your muscles, increases blood flow, and releases endorphins that boost your mood and sharpen your mind. Physical movement in the morning is not about building the perfect physique. It's about building the mental discipline to take action. When you move your body early, you prepare your mind to move with power throughout the day. Another cornerstone of a strong morning routine is intentional planning. Not scrolling through your phone, not reacting to messages, not diving into stress. Intentional planning means choosing your direction before the world pulls you into its noise. Take a few minutes to write down your key priorities for the day. What must get done? What aligns with your long-term goals? What actions today move you closer to becoming the person you want to be? This level of intentionality gives your mind clarity and purpose. Instead of being pulled in 100 directions, you know exactly where your energy must go. Journaling can also be part of your routine. Putting your thoughts on paper is like clearing mental clutter. It creates space in your mind for new ideas and sharper focus. Writing even a few lines about what you're grateful for, what you want to accomplish, or how you want to show up today builds emotional resilience. It reinforces self-awareness, and self-awareness is one of the most powerful forms of self-mastery. But here's something most people forget: a morning routine isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing the things that strengthen the identity you're building. Even 5 minutes of intentional practice is more powerful than 30 minutes of chaos. Your routine should not overwhelm you. It should empower you. It should make you feel like you're stepping into the day with strength, not scrambling to catch up. And this brings us to the real purpose of a morning routine: identity. Every action you take in the morning reinforces who you believe you are. If you wake up early, hydrate, move your body, sit in stillness, and plan your day, you begin to see yourself as someone disciplined, focused, and intentional, and your brain follows that belief. You begin to act like someone who respects their time, someone who takes their goals seriously, someone who is capable of achieving more. But building a powerful morning routine also requires eliminating the things that weaken you. The biggest one is checking your phone the moment you wake up. When you check your phone immediately, you give control of your mind away to the world. Emails, messages, notifications, they all pull you into reaction mode, and reaction mode destroys self-mastery. Protect your mind in the morning. Give yourself the gift of peace before you let the world in. Another habit to eliminate is rushing. Rushing raises your stress levels and sets you up for a reactive day. Even if your morning routine is short, do it slowly, with intention, with presence. The routine should feel like a grounding ritual, not a race. A powerful morning routine doesn't need to be long, but it does need to be meaningful. Each step should shift your mindset, elevate your energy, and strengthen your discipline. Over time, these small habits compound into massive transformations. You start noticing that you're calmer in the face of challenges. You make clearer decisions, you stay focused longer, you feel lighter, sharper, stronger. And here's the part most people miss: the routine is not about the morning. It's about training your mind to take control. It's about practicing discipline until it becomes part of your identity. Your morning routine becomes your daily declaration of self-mastery. It's the foundation that supports everything you do. It's the quiet promise you make to yourself: today I lead. Today I show up. Today I choose strength over excuse. If you build a morning routine that reflects the person you want to become, and you honor it consistently, your life will reshape itself around that identity. You won't just have better mornings. You'll become a better, stronger, more powerful version of yourself. Excuses are incredibly persuasive. They sound reasonable. They sound comforting. They sound like they're protecting you. But make no mistake, excuses are the silent killers of progress. They show up gently, quietly, whispering just enough logic to convince you that delaying your growth is somehow justified. And the only way to eliminate excuses and overcome resistance is to understand the psychology behind them, confront them directly, and build a mindset stronger than the comfort they offer. Every time you try to improve your life, wake up early, start a new routine, push your body, challenge your limits, your brain will try to stop you. And not because you're weak, not because you lack discipline, but because your brain is wired for survival, not growth. It wants predictability, it wants safety, it wants comfort. Growth is uncomfortable. It requires effort, unfamiliarity, risk, and change. So your mind fights it. That resistance you feel, that's your brain protecting what feels familiar. When your alarm goes off in the morning and resistance immediately rises, just sleep a little more, you need rest, it's too early, you can start tomorrow. That isn't laziness. That's a survival instinct. But here's the truth: your brain can't tell the difference between discomfort that leads to growth and discomfort that leads to danger. It treats them the same. And to overcome resistance, you must train your mind to understand that discomfort is not a threat, it's a path. Excuses become dangerous because they sound logical. They don't show up as, I don't want to improve. They show up as, I just need more sleep. It's too cold today. I'm too stressed. I'll start when things are less busy. Excuses hide behind reason. They disguise themselves as care and caution. And over time, they quietly steal your potential. To eliminate excuses, you must first expose them. The moment you recognize the excuses you repeat most often, you strip them of their power. You begin to see them not as truths, but as stories your mind tells to protect you from change. Once you see them for what they are, you can challenge them. But it doesn't stop there. The next step is to remove negotiation from your life. Negotiation is where excuses thrive. The moment you start debating with yourself, should I get up? Should I skip today? Should I take a break? You've already lost. Because your mind will always choose the option with less discomfort. To overcome resistance, you need non-negotiable standards. When you say, I get up at this time, no discussion, your brain becomes conditioned to follow. You are removing the option of excuse. Another powerful strategy is identity alignment. Excuses thrive when your actions don't match the identity you claim. When you see yourself as someone who struggles, who avoids discomfort, who doesn't follow through, your brain will feed excuses that match that identity. But when you begin to see yourself as disciplined, resilient, strong, your brain shifts. Excuses start losing their influence because they don't match who you believe you are. Overcoming resistance becomes easier because your identity demands consistency. But the truth is, resistance never fully disappears. No matter how strong you become, no matter how many times you push through, resistance will always try to return, especially when you're tired, stressed, or facing uncertainty. The difference is this: strong people don't eliminate resistance, they override it. They hear the excuses, they feel the resistance, but they take action anyway. That's what separates those who grow from those who remain stuck. To overcome resistance, you must build systems that make discipline easier than excuses. This means preparing your environment to support your goals, laying out your clothes the night before, placing your alarm across the room, keeping your phone away from your bed. These small environmental shifts remove the friction that excuses depend on. When your environment is designed for discipline, discipline becomes simpler. Another crucial part of eliminating excuses is understanding that motivation won't save you. Motivation is fragile. It comes and goes. It depends on mood, weather, sleep, and circumstance. You cannot rely on motivation to carry you through resistance. You need discipline. Discipline is action in the absence of motivation. Discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. And the more you practice discipline, the more it becomes your default setting. But perhaps the most important part of overcoming resistance is accepting the truth. You are responsible for your results, not your circumstances, not your past, not what people did or didn't do for you, not your schedule, not your stress, not your comfort. You. The moment you take full ownership, excuses lose their grip. Because excuses only survive in the presence of blame. When you choose accountability, you eliminate the space in your mind where excuses live. There will be days when resistance feels overwhelming, days when your excuses feel louder than your goals, days when you genuinely feel exhausted, discouraged, or frustrated. And on those days, you must remember this: resistance is strongest right before a breakthrough. It fights hardest when you're about to step into a better version of yourself. So push anyway, move anyway. Rise anyway, not because it's easy, but because you said you would. Not because you feel motivated, but because you are committed. Not because the path is smooth, but because you are stronger than the resistance that tries to stop you. The moment you stop listening to your excuses, you unlock the person you're capable of becoming. The moment you push through resistance, you grow. And each time you overcome it, you teach your mind that you, not your fears, not your comfort, not your excuses, are in control. And once you take back that control, the life you want becomes possible. Becoming the person you aspire to be is not the result of one big moment, one breakthrough, or one burst of motivation. It is the quiet accumulation of choices, tiny, consistent, often uncomfortable decisions that build on each other day after day. The long-term impact of waking up early, building discipline, and shaping a strong morning routine goes far beyond productivity. It reshapes your identity. It rewires the way you think, the way you act, and the way you navigate your life. It turns you into a person who doesn't just dream, but executes. A person who doesn't just hope, but builds. A person who doesn't just aspire, but becomes. Most people underestimate the compounding effect of discipline. They see the effort of one morning, one early wake up, one commitment, and think it doesn't matter. But compounding is invisible at first. The results don't show up right away. In the beginning, nothing feels different. You wake up early and still feel tired. You build routines and still feel like you're behind. You push through resistance and still question whether it's worth it. This is the part that discourages most people. They want instant results, instant growth, instant transformation. But real change, the kind that lasts, never works like that. Transformation begins subtle, almost undetectable. But every time you choose the harder path, every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you push through resistance instead of giving in, you shift your identity by a fraction. One morning might not change your life, but 100 mornings will. 1 year of showing up differently will create a version of you that feels unrecognizable compared to who you were before. This is the long-term impact people don't talk about enough. You become reliable to yourself. You become someone you trust. Most people have spent years breaking promises to themselves, telling themselves they'll start Monday, they'll get serious later, they'll change when things calm down. Over time, this erodes self-belief. You stop trusting your own word. You stop believing in your ability to follow through. But when you commit to discipline, especially in the mornings, you begin repairing that relationship with yourself. Every time you rise when you said you would, you rebuild trust. Every time you execute a routine, even when you don't feel like it, you strengthen self-respect. And over months and years, this becomes the foundation of inner confidence. Confidence isn't loud, it isn't bravado or ego. True confidence is quiet. It comes from knowing you can depend on yourself no matter the circumstance. It comes from having a body of evidence that proves you show up. It comes from discipline practiced thousands of times in small, consistent acts. Becoming the person you aspire to be requires this kind of confidence, the kind built through action, not intention. As this discipline compounds, something else happens. Your standards rise. Not because someone told you they should, not because the world expects it, but because you expect more from yourself. You stop tolerating the behaviors that kept you stuck. Procrastination, excuses, self-doubt, comfort-seeking. You stop accepting the version of yourself that settles, avoids, or hesitates. Instead, you begin to hold yourself to a standard that reflects your potential, not your comfort. With higher standards comes better decisions. You choose differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself differently. You start living like the person you want to become, even before the results fully show up. This alignment between identity and action is where transformation accelerates. When your actions reflect your future self instead of your past, you collapse the distance between who you are and who you want to be. The long-term impact also shows up in the way you handle adversity. When you've practiced discipline for months or years, discomfort becomes familiar rather than frightening. Challenges don't overwhelm you. They activate you. You've trained your mind to perform even when you're tired, stressed, or unmotivated. That ability becomes your competitive edge. Most people crumble under pressure because they never train themselves to push through small daily resistance. But you will have trained for it every morning. Your resilience becomes unshakable. And that resilience spills into everything: your health, your relationships, your career, your goals. You stop giving up easily. You stop breaking down at the first sign of difficulty. You stop viewing obstacles as signs to quit and start viewing them as opportunities to grow. This shift in mindset is one of the greatest long-term rewards of discipline. Another long-term impact is clarity. When you commit to structure, intention, and early mornings, your mind becomes more organized. You understand your priorities more clearly. You make decisions more quickly. You eliminate distractions more effectively. Your life becomes simpler, not because you have fewer responsibilities, but because you have fewer internal battles. You're no longer constantly negotiating with yourself. I'm debating with your excuses or wrestling with indecision. You've trained your mind to operate with focus and purpose. The compounding effect of this clarity is profound. You move through life with more direction. You pursue goals with more precision. You waste less time. You lose less energy. You experience less chaos. You become someone who doesn't just wish for progress, you create it. Over time, you also begin to attract better opportunities. People notice discipline. They notice reliability. They notice excellence. And people naturally want to work with, support, partner with, and invest in someone who shows up consistently. Doors that once felt closed begin to open, not because of luck, but because you have become a person worthy of those doors. But perhaps the most powerful long-term impact is this: you stop seeing yourself as someone waiting for a better life and start seeing yourself as someone building one. You realize the power has always been in your hands. You realize you never needed permission to grow. You realize that becoming who you want to be is not about drastic changes. It's about daily choices repeated until they shape your identity. When you look back after months or years of discipline, you will see a version of yourself that you barely recognize. Stronger, sharper, more grounded, more confident, more capable, more aligned with your purpose. You won't just be living differently, you'll be thinking differently, reacting differently, feeling differently. That is what transformation truly looks like. Becoming the person you aspire to be doesn't happen overnight, but it becomes inevitable when you choose consistency over comfort, discipline over excuse, and growth over familiarity. And it all starts with the habits you build each morning, the small acts of self-mastery that compound into a life you're proud of. The long-term impact is simple. You don't just change your mornings, you change your life. When you strip everything away, the excuses, the doubts, the delays, the stories you tell yourself, what you're left with is a simple truth. Your life is shaped by the choices you make when no one is watching. The early mornings, the disciplined routines, the moments you rise when it would be easier to stay comfortable. These are not small moments. They are the blueprint of who you become. Every morning is a vote for the future you want. Every act of discipline is evidence that you are capable of more. Every decision to start strong is a declaration that you refuse to live a life defined by hesitation, weakness, or regret. The message is this: you are not stuck. You are not powerless. You are not waiting for the right time. You are building yourself right now through every action you choose or avoid. And if you want a life that feels purposeful, powerful, and fully aligned with your potential, then you must start shaping it with intention. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Right now. The moment you rise, wake up early, take control of your morning, command your mindset, because when you win the first hour of the day, you win the day. And when you win enough days, you win your life. This is your invitation, not to simply do more, but to become more, to step into your strength, to honor your potential, to live as the person you know you can be. Your future self is waiting. Go meet them.